Hey guys, Joe here. So today is Wednesday, December 18th, and I am on the way to my daughter's school because she has a winter concert. So, of course, she just started getting sick, so I had to run to, let me go this way. I had to run to CVS, get her medicine, and then I'm heading to the school. So today, and at this point it's like 9:25, and at this point already got some decent amount of stuff done. So we had a meeting with Mike and Keya like we always do in the morning, which honestly this is the most consistent meeting schedule I've ever had in my entire life, I'm not gonna lie. And the funny part is for next week, I believe it's because of Christmas week and super busy and like all this other kind of stuff. Keya's like, do you mind if we skip the morning meetings because like there's just not much time? And I'm like, actually, I have no problem with that. And the only reason why we're doing this is because you told me I have to be here. So I think it's really, and I talked about this yesterday night as well and several other times, I really do think having that outside accountability is super helpful because at the end of the day, like we know what we need to do. We know what we should do, we just don't do it because as business owners, like we don't really answer to anyone. And so I really do think it's going to be super helpful to have someone like that. I don't know how to have that for you. It could be a spouse, it could be a group of people that you talk to and you all basically, it could be different business owners, maybe from your same area or even, across the country, it doesn't really matter. And it could be just something like where each week you guys are like saying what you are going to end up, like what's the one thing that you guys are going to focus on and like just focus on that. So that's something you could do. The other thing that might be helpful on the outside accountability is getting some kind of screen recorder for like the devices that you use. And I talked about this yesterday where I use this one, I believe it's called insightful.io maybe, or just insightful.com, I don't know. And so anyway, I have it on my work computer. I really need to have it on my home computer as well, but it tracks everything I do. So that way, Keya will go in and it's like, well, you said you were going to do this during this time, but like you were doing this instead, like why? That kind of thing. So maybe something like that set up, or like you don't have to give that to someone else. You could, but it also could be whatever. Actually, Mike, thinking about this as another thing to add into that program is maybe something like this software, like the Insightful. And then that way, whenever we say that we're gonna, like if it's time blocked that we're doing this, this, and this, or whatever happens to be, that if we aren't doing that, maybe there's some kind of alerts that go out if we're getting distracted or something like that. Or maybe it even shuts down access to different websites during those time periods because they're not related to what we said we were going to do. Random idea. So put that somewhere, Mike, please. So anyway, really you can do anything. So we have our morning meeting. We went over that kind of stuff. And then some of the things we were talking about is like the contractor program, or I'm sorry, the challenge. So if you haven't heard about the challenge, I've been talking about the last few videos or few weeks or whatever. And the challenge, it's a 5-day challenge. It starts on January 6th. It's called the Content to Cash Contractor Challenge. And it's basically where I'm just going to show you how to, like what I've been talking about, how to, like the videos, how to turn videos, like these very simple, like 60-second videos into cash generating machines. These videos, the goal is to turn them into qualified homeowners, and which turn into jobs, which then turns into cash. So that is the goal with the program. And basically what's going to happen is throughout the 5 days, it's just going to build one thing after another after another. So the first day is going to be more of like the introduction, what we're going to be covering, things like that, and why I think this is going to work. And I'll get back to that in a second. And then the Second day is going to be like the first type of video. It's the easiest type to make. There's no editing involved, no nothing. It's very simple to do. And then the second day will be the second type of video. The third day will be the second type. The fourth day will be the third type. And then after that, the fifth day is going to show you what to basically do with these videos. And more or less like a high level overview of that kind of stuff. Because like if I tried to go from like cover A to Z for like the entire thing, honestly it would just take too long, and I think it would make you guys feel like it's just way too difficult, or like it's basically just sending too much information. So at this point it's just, we're just going to show you how to do these videos. The one thing that, going back to the outside accountability, the one thing that I probably will be adding in there somehow or another is the ability for you guys to actually upload your videos, so that way people can either see them, or we do something where if you don't upload your video, then like there's a list of people, like, you know, the list of people that didn't do what they were supposed to do. So try to build in that outside accountability for you guys, and so that way you just do it, right? So that's what that challenge is all about. Anyway, so we did that meeting. After that, I already did my meeting with the guy that's helping me with the fence calculator. So I honestly wasn't as prepared as I wanted to be, because yesterday and the day before I spent hours, and I already talked about it in the last video, but I spent hours, but not like, I spent hours, like 2 hours. No, I spent like 10 hours going back and redoing and putting the structure in place just because I didn't have it in there. And so that's what so I did that. Got one of the things figured out. Tomorrow we're putting in the one part. After that, the goal is hopefully that's tomorrow, probably another day. And then after that is when we start running the calculations. But I am super excited for what you guys are going to see. Like, you just have no idea what is coming. Like, I don't think, when I say fence calculator, like, yeah, fence calculator is the one aspect, but honestly, that's probably just like 5 to 10% of like what this program's going to do. So my goal is with this program is to be able for you to use it for your entire business. So as far as like the CRM, if you have one already, you can still use it. But my goal is, like, if you're a newer contractor, you don't have anything, or you just got started with a, Jobber or Job Nimbus or whatever, that this will take over for that and everything else. Just wait till you see what's going to happen, because we've already done this with my previous fence company when we had the installation company. I've already had software built and everything else, but the problem was always the developer kind of fell off. So I just decided, you know what, I'm just going to be that developer, and I'm going to have other people work on the program, but I want to make sure I actually know how to do everything, so that way if there's an issue, I can jump in. If there's a day where I'm like, oh, this would be a really cool feature, or there's some kind of error that pops up, because like I'm trying to account for every single possibility for like the fence calculator and all the other shit that I'm coming up with. But obviously, as users get added on, that's not going to be able to, I can't plan out everything in every situation. So I'm going to be able to make those adjustments like immediately. So I'm excited about that. And again, the only reason I can do it is thank you, Mike, thank you, Keya, and thank you the rest of the team at work, because they are like fucking killing it. So love it. Trying to think what else. That's really about it, I think. And I'm trying to see what else needs to be done at this point. We're working on the next piece of structured content. So that should be out. Well, we're working on that, and then we'll get that in there. I'm very curious to see what you guys think about the content that's coming out. So let me know as we start posting this stuff, like what you think. Is it better? Is it worse? If it is better or whatever, like, what are the things, like, let us know, like, how can we make this better? What do you enjoy seeing? Is this, like, and I told them the other day, does it make sense to take this type of content that I'm doing right now and putting it into a podcast, you know, things like that. So that way, no matter what kind of format that you want to consume this stuff in, it's there for you. So my wife's gone. I'm going to hang up and I will talk to you guys later. Hasta, won't be hasta mañana, but whatever. See ya. Hey guys, Joe here. So it is, well, I could say it was the end of my day because I'm heading home, but that is not the case. So good news, bad news, or, you know, wins for the day, whatever. So win number one, I did not yell at anyone today, so that was a bonus. Win number two is I was able to leave work to see my daughter at her school's recital. Win number three, I actually got projected the amount of trucks of vinyl that we are going to need for the next few months. And if you want to do a guessing game, if you want to guess how many truckloads, like, and this is only for 6 foot solid white vinyl, like this doesn't include colors, this doesn't include like different heights, styles, like none of that. Literally just 6 foot solid white panels, post, like that kind of thing. And so anyway, how many truckloads do you think we need between January? I had to project for January, February, March, and April. So take a guess on how many that we are going to order. So, and like, again, so next year, well, this is our second full year, so we're really only going into our third year of business. So that's number one. And then the other thing is, so I had my wife Maria reach out to our supplier and say, look, what is our biggest, you know, what's your biggest customer? How many, you know, well, actually we said, she's like, what's the biggest customer and like, what do they order, right? Truckloads and stuff like that. And she's like, because Joe wants to know, because like for me, I want to know who the biggest is for my, you know, the people that we buy from. And it's like, I want to know that number so that way I have something to shoot against. I don't need to know the person's name or the company's name. I just want to know numbers. So that's like, look, we're going after this, you know, company, right? And so anyway, he's like, well, if you order this amount, like you're going to be our biggest customer. And that's what, you know, my wife told me, and I'm like, you know what, that's kind of disappointing, to be honest with you. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, so we got that. Now what I did is I based on doing anywhere from a 50% increase to a double, just because we've been in that range, not double, but it's also like, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how many new customers we're going to get. And I'm always like freaking out. And I think it's because when we used to import material that like I had to order like 2.5, 3 months in advance. But now with pretty much everything being domestic, we don't really have that issue. But I'm also worried to make sure that we have our stuff ordered in case, you know, there's some kind of backlogs that companies start screwing up. Like I want to make sure we have this stuff. So that's why I was asking Cruz today. I'm like, yo, like how many, like worst case, like how many truckloads can we fit in this thing? In, you know, in the warehouse between inside and outside. And he's like, well, outside this, and this. And he's like, well, actually, well, we still have to move the fence so we can get this. And then for the inside, I'm like, well, what about the area where we used to keep the, like we would keep the imported stuff inside? I'm like, well, what about that? Because we're going to have that kind of open. And he's like, well, I thought you were going to throw like full fence panels as we build them there because we want to keep a few hundred ready at all times. I'm like, yeah, but like this is like worst case. So he came up with, I think we can fit like, and I never thought we'd be able to fit this many, but we probably can fit like 6 to 7 truckloads worth of just, again, 6 foot solid white vinyl stuff between that and the post in between inside and outside the warehouse, like worst case. So realistically, I'd like to only keep about, as long as everything's flowing the way it should be, like 2 to 3 truckloads, you know, because that's going to be, it's about 330, 350 sections between sections and post on there. So I'd like to keep about 1,000 sections on hand at all times, just to be on the safe side, but we'll see what happens. But anyway, let me know what you think, how many truckloads we got. I didn't think we would be the biggest customer for these people because, like, honestly, they're pretty big. So it's disappointing. So, but again, that's with me adding, like, for some months it's 50, other months it's, you know, doubling the sales just to be on the safe side, plus adding like 1 or 2 more just to have extra shit, like, ready to go. So there's that. So I figured that crap out. I had the meeting with the guy today, got a little bit of progress on there, spent more time today trying to figure out what that's going to look like with the calculator. Today, what we used to do with the old program and like what is done with most of the other calculators, if not all the calculators out there, is like the initial upfront time it takes to set this stuff up. It takes a while because, you know, if you have just a vinyl, chain link, aluminum, wood, like all that kind of stuff, right? And then for each, just say for vinyl, right? So it's not just vinyl that you have to add, right? Because you have vinyl privacy and picket and lattice and closed spindle top, open spindle top, like all these other kinds of things, right? And then on top of that, you got the different colors, you got the different heights, you got the different gates, things like that, right? So a lot of times you're doing everything like one after another after another. So I was working on like, how do we just make your life as simple as we possibly can? So what we came up with, this is really me. I don't know, maybe the AI too. I don't think the other guy, not so much. The guy that was helping me. Today was kind of like a waste for me, like, honestly, because I wasn't 100% ready. But anyway, so what'll happen is you're going to choose the type of fence. So this would be like that, just say for the vinyl, right? And then you're going to choose the style. So in this case, privacy. After you choose that, you're going to put in what your spacing is that you use. So is it like your center on center spacing? Is it, you know, most of the time for vinyl, it's 95.5. That's what we use. Now wood, you would end up using the, you know, the full 96. And the other thing that we're incorporating into this to figure out the cut sections is the extra space needed for these cut sections. Because like you can't, like when you're trying to mix and match cut sections, you want to make sure you have enough material left over. So like just say your panel's 94 inches wide, right? From, you know, end of picket to end of picket. Well, if you think that you have 2 cut sections and they're both, what did I say, 94? So if you have 2 of them that are 47, right? Well, if you don't add an additional, in my case, like we're adding an additional 6 inches. If you don't add the additional 6 inches or whatever it happens to be, you really can't get 2 47 panel, you know, cut sections out of a panel because you need the extra length to go into the post and stuff, right? So that's why you have that extra in there. So anyway, you'll do that. And then after that, you're going to put in what colors that you offer for that particular fence, like all the different options. And then after that, it's going to go into, oh, you also put in if you do heavy duty gate post for that or not. So for vinyl, a lot of people use the aluminum stiffener post, so it wouldn't apply. But if you use like the thick wall post, it would. For aluminum, that's where you're usually using the heavy duty end post and the heavy duty blank post for the gates, at least for the hinge side. So you'll have that option on there. And then after that, it'll go through and for the, after you choose the colors that are all available, next thing is screen will go into the heights. So if you offer, so just say you chose vinyl, privacy with your spacing, vinyl privacy in white, tan, and khaki, right? And then, but for white, you offer that in 4 foot, 5 foot, and 6 foot high. But in tan, you only, and tan and khaki, just say you only offer that in 6 foot, not 4 and 5. So what'll end up happening is once you choose like all the colors that you do, then the next screen pops up and it shows the, the color, and then it has the heights, like 4, 5, and 6, right? So then you would just click on like whatever ones that you offer for that, and then after that it'll go into the gates that you offer that as well, like what widths. Like I have it set up for like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 for single gates. Now you would select whatever ones that you offer, and then because some people do an 8-foot single gate, like I've seen that, like I don't advise it, but I've seen it done. 7-footers, 6-footers. I don't really suggest that unless you're going to end up framing that shit out. And then most times we do a 3, 4, or 5. But anyway, depending on what you pick for there, it'll automatically double that for the double gates. And then there's an option if you offer cantilever gates for that particular fence or not. And if you do, the standard options into this are 10, 15, 25, 30, 35, 40. So then you would just click whatever ones that you offer, and then based on that, so if you clicked for, again, so vinyl, it sounds like a lot of steps, but when you see it on the images, it's really fast. So, and it's going to be one of those things where I play with it, and then I'm going to see what tweaks I think needs to make it even faster and simpler and things like that. Give it to some of the guys to see what it looks like, and I can, you know, upload on here and just have you guys like just try adding different styles just to see what you think. And the goal is just to make it as simple as I possibly can. And so anyway, ideally it should populate, you know, 20, 30, 40 different options like within about 2 minutes or so. That's my goal, because again, if you're just picking the type of fence, which is the vinyl, you put in the privacy, you put in the spacing, and then after that you're choosing the colors, and then after that you're choosing the heights, the gates, and after that, and it just populates everything based on the options that you chose. Now you will have to go back and enter in the pricing that you pay for these materials. The cool thing that I'm going to be doing, which like Fence Cloud has this as well, is I want to be able to tie this in with the suppliers as well. Right now I'm just concerned about myself, and then so over time you'll be able to have other suppliers that are going to be doing this stuff as well. And then the cool thing is you will be able to pick and choose. So if it's like you get the vinyl from just say us, but then you get the chain link from Stephen Pipe and Steel, right? Then you'll be able to click that supplier, and if they approve you, then their pricing will automatically pull over for you as well. So then you know your cost right away, and that way if there's any changes in pricing, things like that, it automatically gets there. You're still going to have to go in and figure out like what if you do an upcharge for your materials, if you how you charge for labor and things like that. And there's a lot of customization in there for that as well. And wait till you see, because I just find a lot of times, also this thing, you will pick and choose if you install by the panel or if you build on site. And because it'll factor in the different things for that as well. Because instead of telling you need, 20 panels, instead it'll tell you need like 450 pickets or whatever. And you'll be able to put in your pricing for individual pickets. Same thing if you have a supplier. There's a lot of cool stuff. It sounds like a lot, but my goal is to make it as all-inclusive as I possibly can, and then be able to let you guys easily add this stuff really, really fast. So I'm excited about that. And there's even more stuff that I can't even remember right now, like as far as the pricing. So I really suggest doing like a daily profit per crew. That's just the way I do it, just because you can figure out how many you figure out what your business expenses are as far as like the typical overhead, not the labor end for the actual installation, but like your insurance cost, if you have any like admin or secretaries, that kind of stuff, whatever you spend for advertising, you would put all that in there. You would put in, how much that you're looking to make, and you can make it like as simple as just say, I want to make $200,000, or whatever that number happens to be, or you can actually plug in all your numbers. So if you want to put in like what your mortgage payments is, your utilities, and this and this and this and this, and then also add in like for savings and investments and things like that, it'll say, okay, based on all this, you need to make, you want to make $150,000 this year, right? And then if you want to make 150 for yourself, and then on top of that you need, I don't know, 250 for your business, so a total of $400,000. Well, you also select how many crews that you typically run. So if you're running one crew and you put in there that you work an average of 5 days a week for 50 weeks a year, it's going to take that $400,000. And Mike, you can add this as like on the screen or whatever. So if you want to make 150,000 plus the 250,000, that's 400,000, right? And then you take the 400,000, and again, if you have one crew that's working average 5 days a week, I personally say to do 4 days a week for 50 weeks a year, so 200 working days. That's what I would personally suggest, but that's just me. What you can end up doing, or it might be less depending on your area, right? But just say on that, so you're working 4 days a week at 500, or 4 days a week, 50 weeks a year, that's 200. So you take that 400,000, divide it by 200, and that gets you to $2,000 in profit per day that you need to make, okay? And the reason why this is important, because if you have a job, and this will figure this out as well, if you have a job and it thinks it's going to take you a day and a half to do, you need to raise your number up. It really needs to raise up to two days, right? Because a lot of times you think, number one, you think it's going to take a day and a half, but it takes longer. Number two, even if it does take a day and a half, chances are you're not even getting to the next job anyway. So you need to make sure that, in worst case, if it takes the full 2 days, that you account for that. So now instead of $2,000 in profit, you need to make $4,000 in profit. Well, if the materials were $5,000, and just say, so the materials are $5,000, and based on your normal pricing, you think you should charge $8,000 for that project, right? Well, it's going to know that it's going to take 2 days, and that you need to make $2,000 per day. So then what it's going to do is, instead of charging $8,000, it's automatically going to go to $9,000, right? And it's just a good way for you not to like shortchange yourself and expect everything to work under perfect conditions. So anyway, I got to head into the bank. My wife's calling. Hasta mañana.